Hey friends, welcome to the weekly Wisdom Wednesday podcast. I'm your host, Phil Caffey, and I'm glad that you've tuned in today. So thanks for taking some time to grow in wisdom along with me, and I'm so glad that you're here. Today we're going to talk about a topic that is not so wonderful in today's society. We're going to talk about rest. We as Americans are workaholics. And we like to rest, and we think that the more we do, the better we are. And we think that the more we accomplish, the better we look. And sometimes that's true, sometimes it's not. But in the overall scheme of life, we need to take time to rest. So I want to go with you to Exodus chapter 20. And it's going to start in verse 8. And it says this: "Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you, nor your son or daughter, nor your male or female servant, nor your animals, nor any foreigner residing in your towns." Now, I bring this up because I'm learning this myself. And I am someone that likes to just always be working, and I feel guilty not working, or I feel like I should always be doing something. Well, recently I just got a personal trainer for myself to kind of help me continue to reach my goals in fitness. And something that this trainer is prioritizing is rest. Now, that's not something I'm usually used to in the gym, because I like to work out, and I like to work out every day. And I was doing so, even days when I was really, really tired, I was still going, when I probably should have taken a rest. And so what this trainer is doing, he's got at least 2 days of rest time, and then the other days are exercising. So I bring that up because the theology of rest is so important. There are even groups in Christianity. There's a group called the Adventists, and I was just watching a documentary on the lifestyle of people that live a long time. In fact, if you're interested, it's called Blue Zones on Netflix. So if it's still there, it's called Blue Zones. And they were talking about these groups of people that live a long time. And one of them was the Adventists, and they strictly observe the Sabbath day. They do all their meal prep the night before. They do not do any activities on the Sabbath. It's a complete day of rest and enjoyment with family and friends, and it's not a day of any work. Now, to the rest of society, that may seem absolutely crazy. Why would they absolutely get nothing done? And I think it's a beautiful thing, actually. You might think, oh, that's a waste of time. They should be doing something. Well, actually, if you look at it, if they don't rest, they're not going to be productive people the rest of the week. And it also takes time to reflect, and be introspective, and also time for enjoyment. We need to take that time to kind of rest, recuperate, but also enjoy each other's company. And so I thought that was really, really interesting. And these people were actually healthier than people that did not rest. And these people were actually, they even lived a longer time. And so that should say something to us, that putting God at the first place of our week, or at least having a Sabbath during the week, at least having a day of rest during the week, is a great start to rest. Now, I've also heard it said, you can have Sabbaths throughout your day. I think that can work. But overall, each week we should have the Sabbath day. We should observe the Sabbath. I do believe that all the laws in the Old Testament that God gave to the Jewish people were a recipe for health and wellness, and also for a happy way of life. And so I do think that we need to maybe revisit that. Not that we need to observe all almost 700 laws, but there was a purpose for them. It's even coming out now that maybe we should stay away from some pork. But anyway, I digress. So the Sabbath day, keeping it holy, keeping it a day of rest. And so when I said to my trainer, I don't feel like I'm doing a lot in the gym. I feel like I should be working more. And he says sometimes less is more. And I began to think about, well, maybe I was doing too much. Maybe it was taking me away from my family. Maybe it was taking me away from my friends, or maybe not living a balanced life. And so I thought maybe that this is a more balanced approach. We'll see. I'll keep you updated on it. But even God has other scriptures regarding rest, not just the Sabbath. Jesus even said in Matthew chapter 11, he said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Well, if we never take that time to go to Jesus, how will we understand this beautiful idea of rest? We won't, because we won't have made time for that. He's inviting us, come to him if you're weary, you're burdened, and he'll give you rest. We get burdened from our copious amounts of work. We get burdened from always being on the go, always being taxed. We get stressed. And so Jesus says, "Come to me, and I will give you rest." He says, "Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." And so we need to have that time of rest. In the American society, we love to be on the go. We love to be on the go. We love to be always doing something, because that signals to us that we're doing something important. Rest is equally important, because if we don't take that time to rest, we're not going to be good for anybody else. I'm learning this myself, so this is really hard for me to say to you, but I'm also learning this myself. Because even in the church, where I work for the church, so even working for the church, I work on Sunday technically, and so that's not a day of rest for me. So it's counter to my thoughts. It's counter to the way I've been living my life. And so yes, we need to have a Sabbath. We need to have this time of rest. But the rest is not only for us, but it's also for spending time with God. It's to worship him and adore him and give him that time he so deserves. And that's, he longs for that time for us. Not that he's a God that it's all about him. Yeah, it is all about him, but he doesn't make it in a way that seems like, he is, this arrogant person. No, he knows that if we align ourselves with him, that we will be better off in the world. If we put our center focus on him, then everything else will spring from there. We'll see other people through the eyes of God. We'll see how we should go at our work through the eyes of God, instead of making everything else and God second. It's all about God first. And so I really wanted to bring this up today about the Sabbath. It's not a very easy topic for me to talk about, and I know it's very counter to today's world. There was a time in the American society where stores were closed on Sunday, restaurants and things were closed on Sunday, and people they prepped their meal the night before, so that all they had to do was just turn on the oven, and so we've gotten away from that. And has society really gotten any better because we don't observe the Sabbath? I don't know. That's up to you. I'm not here to answer that, but just to give you questions to ponder. So the Sabbath, Jesus says, "Come to him all who are labored and are burdened, and he'll give you rest." And God even told the Jewish people in the Old Testament that 6 days you work, seventh you rest. And I think that is something that we need to really look at. How are we resting? Are we taking time to rest? And not to be lazy people. Some people might take that to the other extent and just be lazy people. No, we work hard and then we rest, because that's the way God designed it. And this is the way we ought to live. We ought to live in the rest of God. So friends, I hope you enjoyed today's Weekly Wisdom Wednesday podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Phil Caffey. If you've liked this little nugget of wisdom, I encourage you to check out my YouTube page. You can just search Phil Caffey, and I'll come up with some music, and I'll also have some other podcasts that I've done throughout the year. You can listen to those at any point in time. And if you want to hear some music by me, you can also check out my YouTube page or my website, philcaffey.com. Again, I'm so thankful that you joined in today, and I hope you have a wonderful, blessed rest of the week. God bless you.